Question is how to self-evaluate the. But we can say first level of progress is in the Antakarana Shuddhi, in the purification of the mind, because it's a process. And what is the characteristic or the mark of the purification of mind? As the mind becomes free from impurities, impulses, kama, krodha, lobha, anger, it becomes quieter by itself, because quietude is the nature of the mind. And if you have a mind which is not quiet, which is agitated, that is not the nature of the mind. It is impulses such as anger, they make the mind agitated. Anger, greed, anxiety, cravings. So these are the things that create agitations in mind. They're not nature of the mind, they're all incidental, meaning that they come and go. Anger also is incidental, greed, any impulse is incidental, not the nature of mind. And therefore we can remove that. Just as water, the nature of water is purity. If there is dirt in water, it is not the nature of water. And then we can remove the dirt, which is not its nature. So also likes and dislikes are the nature of the mind. We are not greedy people, angry, that's not our nature. By nature, each one of us is a kind, good, beautiful person. By nature, each one of us is a kind, beautiful, loving person. But these intruders, like anger or greed, they are intruders. They are not our residents, intruders. But sometimes the intruders, they ring the bell and you let them in and they just take over. So these fellows have as though taken over our mind. Looks like the mind is controlled by anger, controlled by jealousy, controlled by these negative feelings. So we may feel that that's the nature of mind. It is not. And since these are not nature, therefore we can remove them. And the rule is simple. By neutralizing them with the opposite, by the opposite vrittis, emotions, called pratipaksha bhavana. So we should be constantly doing this. Pratipaksha bhavana means deliberately taking the opposite or contrary position. See, let's say mind gets angry at someone. That is because mind has taken a position. Mind sees something in there somewhere which is intolerable, not acceptable to the mind. And so mind cannot tolerate. And therefore the opposite is to tolerate, accept, accommodate. So thus for every impulse there is a neutralizing factor, pratipaksha bhavana. So this famous story, the Prajapati, and we are talking about the creation. Devata, Deva, Danava, Manava. Deva, the gods who dwell in the heaven. In heaven, every object of pleasure is available and therefore they indulge. So, devatas, because they get what they want, turn into indulge. So indulgence is the problem with devatas. Indulgence means that we cannot control our mind. Say chocolate candy, you just cannot control the mind. Therefore, you have to, before you realize, you put it in your mouth. That is called craving. So devatas, since they have all objects of pleasure, therefore this craving is there, one of their tendencies. The Danavas, they live in the Patala, netherworld, and they are fighting always. Cruelty is their nature. And Manava, human beings, are greedy by nature. Greed means that I am not satisfied with what I have, and I cannot part with what I have. Usually, greed is explained as inability to part with what we have. Even inability to give. So, Deva, Danava, Manava. Devatas characterized by craving called Kama. Danavas by cruelty called Krodha. Manavas by greed called Lobha. So once upon a time, these three decided to go to Prajapati. He is a great teacher. Like our Chandogya saying Prajapati. So Devatas, Danavas, Manavas went to Brahmaloka, which is the Loka of Prajapati. Prajapati doesn't respond right away, so they went there and stayed and performed penance. Like, what else can you do there? They serve. You live in a place like that, with the discipline that the place expects from you, the advantage is that there is a purification of mind. Because the atmosphere is like that, food is like that, whole environment is like that. So as mind becomes purified, meaning free from the raga dveshas, he starts thinking, contemplating. So Devatas, Danavas, Manavas are in the world of Prajapati. So Prajapati one day invited them. First invited Devatas and asked, what's the purpose of your coming? I think didn't ask them for all these days, so why have you come here? Sir, we have come here to get from you some Upadesha teaching which will be helpful to us in our day-to-day life. Prajapati says, sure. Prajapati uttered one letter, Da. He asked the Devata, did you hear what I said? Yes. You said Da. Do you understand what I meant? Yes. Damyata. See, everybody understands the same thing depending upon their frame of mind. So Devatas realize that Prajapati is telling us, because there is indulgence in life, pleasure in our life, therefore say Damyata, you control yourself. Then the Danavas were invited. What's the purpose of the coming? Sir, to get from you some Upadesha, which we can use in our day-to-day life. Dayaddham, same da. So did you follow what I said? Da, what does it mean? Dayaddham. Because Danavas understood. Because they are cruel by nature. Dayaddham, have daya, have mercy, have compassion. That is the Pratipaksha Bhavana for cruelty or anger. Self-control is a Pratipaksha Bhavana for Kama or craving. So craving is that which takes over me. At that time I exercise self-control, called Dama. That this craving has arisen in my mind, but I will not allow it to manifest as action. So inside things are happening, but outwardly does not allow the impulse to express as action. Therefore, the impulse dies down. Then the Manavas were called. What can I do for you? Sir, please give us some upadesha for our day-to-day life. The same letter. So did you follow what I said? Yes, you said the. What does it mean? It means datta, may you give, may you be generous. It's the appropriate thing for the manavas who are greedy by nature. Means they cannot part with what they have. They have to be generous. That's the pratipaksha bhavana for miserliness. So, danena adanam tara. Puja Swami is very fond of reciting this mantra from Samaveda. Akrodena krodham tara. Danena adanam tara. What is adanam? Adanam, as Swami said, is incapacity to give. I have, but somehow I just cannot give. When it comes to giving, I see a beggar and my mind thinks that I should give something. My hand goes to pocket and let me give him 5 rupees. By the time the hand goes to pocket, it becomes 1 rupee. By the time it comes out, it becomes 50 paisa. But then give him some 25 paisa, Because even though there's a lot of money in my pocket, and still, I just cannot part with it. So, hey, human beings, be generous. Oh, demons, be kind, merciful, compassionate. Oh, devatas, have self-control, control your cravings, control your desires. Dhamyata, dayadvam, datta. Dhamyata, control yourself. Dayadvam, have compassion. Datta, be charitable. So see. One C is compassion. Other C is control. Third C is charity. One letter C or one letter Da, depends on what your preference is. So this is called Pratipaksha Bhavana. And this has to be done all the time. It's a full-time job, not a part-time job. Because various impulses keep on arising in our mind. That's a good occasion to take care of it. Otherwise we don't even know what is in our mind. What they call vasanas, meaning that unconscious. We do not know. We know it only when it becomes conscious. And that's the time to take care of it. So Pratipaksha Bhavana, that's a sadhana. To constantly make my mind free from impulses. And that is the process of Antahkarana Shuddhi. So how do you evaluate the progress? Purer your Antahkarana becomes, more progress you make. How do you know my Antahkarana is becoming pure? Freer it becomes from impulses. Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Raga, Dvesha. More progress you make. How do you know it has become free? More cheerful you become. More sattvic you become. Sattva means cheerfulness. You find yourself happy without any reason. So that is sattvic happiness. You find happy yourself because of a reason, that is Rajas happiness. When you find yourself happy because somebody is unhappy, that is Tamas happiness. Some people are happy because others are unhappy. Some are happy because they are happy. Some are happy because others are happy. So Tamas, Rajas and Sattva. So we have to transform our mind from Tamas to Rajas, Rajas to Sattva. And you will know, as the mind becomes sattvic, you become happy. Happy with yourself. You don't need anything to be happy. Progressively. That's how you can evaluate the progress.
Swamiji, you said mind's nature is quietude, but isn't mind is a factory of thoughts? So it's
Thinking does not mean agitation. Conflicting thoughts are agitation. But you can think, you can contemplate. So thought does not necessarily mean agitation. But an impulsive thought is an agitation. When there is a conflict, there is agitation. Otherwise, thinking is not a problem. So mind by itself is not a problem. But we have not paid attention to the mind, like a child, And then all of a sudden you realize that this fellow is out of control. So also mind we have not paid attention. Or we realize, oh, it's out of control. Then we have to start doing something about it. But thinking is not a problem. These impulses are a problem. They are those which create agitation. Then there is the second question, what are the possible pitfalls, stagnation points, delusions? Well, pitfall is the habitual error that we have. We have inherited the habit of identifying with the body. That is a primary problem. And from that, all the other problems are born. So identifying with the body, that identified I is called ahankara, and then there is mamakara, raga, dvesha, and whatever. So observe the mind and see, as long as we are alert, then we are able to follow our values. I like to be a kind person. I like to be a giving person. And when I am alert, when I am conscious, then I make my mind, hey, come on, be kind, let it go, etc. Meaning that I am able to follow the values when I am conscious. But when the habit takes over, the habitual way of thinking takes over, then this resolve of being a kind, etc. goes away because I am not aware for a conscious person. Because then thinking is habitual thinking. So that's the pitfall. The ingrained habits, they call it vasanas. So when we become controlled by them, then our values, etc., they do not come into play. So this habitual error is a pitfall for us. Stagnation points. What do you think is stagnation point? No else? No improvement. Well, stagnation point can be the kashaya dosha, that's what the Karikagara says. Sometimes the mind gets just stunned, doesn't go this way or that way. Or stagnation can be, as somebody said, there is no progress. We get stuck where we are. So what would that be? Ahankara. Any suggestion? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Stagnation means that you get stuck.
Procrastination could be.
As you say, we are not making any progress. Mind sometimes just loses the enthusiasm or the motivation to do anything. And so you feel you are stuck because the mind just does not seem to support you, is not motivated, doesn't have that enthusiasm, energy to overcome the obstacles, etc. And delusions. So, what are the possible delusions? I know everything. Pardon me?
Sometimes mind or thought comes that life is meaningless, and because of that also mind is like stagnant.
Stagnation point. Life is meaningless. Yeah. That's a more fundamental thing.
Sometimes the thought comes again and again, like whenever you contemplate or like see in life, so again and again the thought comes, and maybe because of that sometimes, like you said, mind gets stuck. It doesn't support, and we feel that we are stuck, or mind is stuck.
Swamiji, stagnation, the classic case of Indra and Virochana. The reason is the wrong expectation from that. So they go on, beyond that they do not know where to go. So this is a classic case. Many of us do that, Swamiji.
Illusions. I guess you can make your own meanings, Nididhyasana and Atma Vichara of Ramana Maharshi. See, Ramana Maharshi prescribed this method of inquiring, who am I? Meaning that go into the source of the very Ahankara. In the Upadeshasaram, Ramana Maharshi describes like this. We discussed that time. So Ramana Maharshi starts his inquiry. Manasantu kim margane krute naiva manasam marg arjavad. Manasantu kim, what is this mind? It is margane krute, when we deliberate upon, what is this mind? Meaning that we sometimes get tortured by the mind, but then confront the mind and ask, what is this mind? Then mind is nothing but flow of thoughts, as you said. All the thoughts can be divided into two categories of thoughts. Vrittestu aham vrittimasita. Vrittayo mano, he says, vrittaya manaha. What is manaha? Mind. Vrittaya, the thoughts. On the thoughts, there are two kinds. One is all idam vrittaya to aham vrittim. There are idam vrittis and aham vrittis. Subject and object. Subject thought and object thought. Of these two also, the object thought is dependent upon subject thought. The idam vritti is dependent upon aham vritti. So primary vritti in the mind is aham vritti. So what is mind? Aham vritti. Ahankara is mind. So then we proceed. What is ahankara? Aham ayunkato bhavati chinvatah. So that is Ramana Maharshi's method. What is the origin of ahankara? Vedantin may say, what's the reality of ahankara? He says, what is the origin of ahankara? Where does ahankara means aham vritti arise from? Aham ayam kato bhavati chinvatah. One who is contemplating, deliberating in this manner as to where the aham thought arise. Then the ahankara disappears. Aham ayam kuto bhulchinvatah ahi patatyaham. Aham patati. How? Nija vicharanam. So this is a way to think about aham. Aham inashabhaji. In aham also there are two aspects. Aham vritti, there is aham vritti which is a changing aspect. And there is something that enlivens aham vritti, illumines aham vritti, which is the consciousness. So what can be negated is that aham thought which arises and subsides, which is incidental, which is not the reality, and therefore drop it. Aham vinashabhaji. Thus, when aham vritti, you recognize that it is not real, and therefore you do not identify with it. Then it subsides, and what remains in its place is the changeless consciousness. And that is you. So the consciousness is the origin from which the aham thought, I thought arises. But he does it this way. Pay attention to mind. Mind is the thoughts. Thoughts are twofold. Aham vritti is the primary thought. And aham vritti, when you inquire, it arises from I, consciousness. Aham, consciousness, arises from consciousness, subsides in consciousness. And consciousness is the reality of aham vritti. That is the method. That's not Vedantic method. Vedanta, we said this morning, Vedanta does not ask who am I. Vedanta starts with saying I am Brahman. Because Vedanta looks upon Upanishad as the very Pramanam, and Upanishad says you are a Brahman. So I do not question Upanishad. I then ask myself, how do I say that I am a Jiva? So that's how Vedanta inquiry is. Not who am I? I am Brahman. How am I? Then how do I justify I am Jiva? Realize that the idea of Jiva arises from identification with the body, etc., etc. And when that I overcome that, then what remains is nothing but consciousness of Brahman. So Vedantic method is starting with Aham Brahman. Sadeva Somidam. What is this universe? It doesn't ask. Sadeva, the universe is Sat. Sat is the truth of the universe. That's how Upanishad starts. Atmava idameva ekagrasid. This universe was nothing but Atma before its creation. Meaning Atma is the truth of the universe. Sat is the truth of the universe. If Sat is the truth, then where is Sat? Then that helps us understand that what is Sat. Sanmulaha somimaha prajaha sadayatanaha satpratishtaha. All these jivaha, all the beings have their origin in the Sat. They are sustained by Sat. They merge back into Sat. Sat is the reality. So this is how Upanishad conducts an inquiry to help us understand that the fundamental reality is Sat, and that is you. That's what Upanishad says. We will not arrive at, we can arrive at Sat, but that Sat I am is what Upanishads tell me. Then I realize, how can I be Sat? then I realize that my conclusion that I am so and so is baseless. Because it comes from identification, the body, etc. And that is given up, what I am is Sat. So that is how the Atma Vichara is performed by Vedanta, by Upanishads. We told you how Ramana Maharshi performs. He starts with who am I. Vedanta starts with I am Brahman, not who am I. Any other questions? Antakarana Bheda creates Jiva Bheda. Is that the question? Antakarana Bheda creates Jiva Bheda? See, what is Bheda is something that is created by our mind. Bheda means mutual exclusion. That you are different and I am different. This is what our mind creates. From what Upanishad says, there is no such thing as Bheda. There is nothing that separates you. What is the separating line from you and I? Means subject and object. What is the line separating the subject from the object? You are the object. So what separates, what is separating line between I and you? If you are then already, then you are the object. Separating line becomes object. And more you expand the separating line, that becomes object, and therefore more and more becomes included in I. Ultimately, anything is objectified by the I, include. Where does I stop? Every limit is objectified by me, is known by me, I am conscious of that. That is included in me. And therefore, everything is included. We take for granted that we are confined to the body, therefore we feel that everything outside the body is different from me. Puja Swamiji said that there is nobody like you, first. You are the only subject. You are all object. Swamiji, I am subject and you are object. Then people, that way you can say. I am subject, you are object. No, Swamiji, I am subject, you are the object. Whereas I am subject and you are object, which you is object? Or when you say I am the subject, you are the object, which I is object? The body. What can you objectify is the body. Is it possible for anybody to objectify consciousness? And therefore, where do I stop and where do you begin? I am consciousness. Where do I stop? You are conscious. Where do you begin? So really speaking, there is no dividing line, there is no division, there is no Bheda. God has not created Bheda. Who creates that? Our mind. How? By saying that I am only this much. So I have decided that I stretch only up to the body. And that everything outside the body is different from me. No, that's my own personal thing. But if I do not restrict myself to the body, because body also is included as an object, right? So body cannot become the boundary line, because that's also included. I am aware of that also. No, the whole universe, everything is included in the consciousness that is I. Therefore there is nothing other than I. There is nobody like me. First, nobody like me. You are all object, I am subject. And secondly, what is subject? Includes everything. Nobody other than me. Nobody like me, nobody other than me. What is I? You can say, no, Swami, what is I? You can grant that. Because I has no dimension. So I has no confinement. Everybody uses I. I also use I. You also do. Mosquito also does. An ant also says I. In I, it's a universal thing. But I has no form, no dimension, no attributes. I, attributeless, formless. But I superimpose form upon I, and then I say, I am confined to the body. That's my personal thing. Isn't it? So really speaking, I has no name, no form, because every name and form uses I, including mosquito and ants and everybody. So what is the size of I? Like a mosquito? Like an ant? Like a human being? Like an elephant? I has no dimension, no time, no place, no dimension. He is all pervasive, all inclusive. Think it's like this. So that is how Bheda or division is something that is created by our mind.
Swamiji, Ramana Maharishi always said one statement, it's always quoted in everywhere, that silence is truth and stillness is God. It, he's not there to explain, but what does he mean? Silence is truth, stillness is God. That's...
You explain?
I'm asking you, Swamiji. Many places.
Stillness is in the mind. Stillness is in the mind.
And silence is?
Nature. Silence is my nature.
So stillness is what? And what is stillness is God?
Yes, that's what it says. Silence is truth, stillness is God.
It's the same thing. Truth and God.
So God is different from truth? When Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. So Satyam is called God. So we have to find out in what sense Ramana Maharshi uses his words. Okay, that seems to be all as far as questions are concerned. Okay. What did I say? काले हनुमान जयंती है तो पैसे काले बोलो बोलो सब मिल बोलो ओम नमः शिवाय बोलो बोलो सब मिल बोलो ओम नमः शिवाय। ओम नमः शिवाय, ओम नमः शिवाय। ओम नमः शिवाय, ओम नमः शिवाय। बोलो बोलो सब मिल बोलो ओम नमः शिवाय। जूट जटा में गंगाधारी, जूट जटा में गंगाधारी, त्रिशूलधारी डमरू बजाए, त्रिशूलधारी डमरू बजाए। डम 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 डमरू बजाए। डम 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 डमरू बजाए। गूंज उठाओ नमः शिवाय। गूंज उठाओ नमः शिवाय। ओम 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 नमः शिवाय। हरि ओम नमः शिवाय। बोलो बोलो सब मिल बोलो ओम नमः शिवाय। बोलो बोलो सब मिल बोलो ओम नमः शिवाय। ओम नमः शिवाय, ओम नमः शिवाय। ओम नमः शिवाय, ओम नमः शिवाय। बोलो बोलो सब मिल बोलो ओम नमः शिवाय। जूट जटा में गंगाधारी, जूट जटा में गंगाधारी, त्रिशूलधारी डमरू बजाए। त्रिशूलधारी डमरू बजाए, डम 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 डमरू बजाए, डम 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 डमरू बजाए, गूंज उठा ओम नमः शिवाय, गूंज उठा ओम नमः शिवाय, ओम नमः शिवाय, ओम नमः शिवाय, ओम नमः शिवाय, हरि ओम नमः शिवाय, 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 हरि ओम नमः शिवाय, बोलो बोलो सब मिल बोलो ओम नमः शिवाय, ओम नमः शिवाय, ओम नमः शिवाय, बोलो बोलो सब मिल बोलो ओम नमः शिवाय, जूट जटा में गंगाधारी, त्रिशूलधारी डमरू बजाए, डम 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 डमरू बजाए, गूंज उठा ओम नमः शिवाय, 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 हरि ओम नमः शिवाय, ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मा अमृतङ्गमय ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते शान्ति शान्तिः हरि ओम् श्री गुरुभ्यो